It's 5090. That's why HFO is here. It's 5090. It's 5090.
Good evening. It's a Sunday evening. Good evening to Ryako Music. Hello. Good evening to Array of Emotions. Hello. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, it's the middle of September and it's getting warmer again. It's nearly 32 degrees Celsius in here right now. Array of Emotions says, sound working right away. Nice. Thank you, David. Januarius, good evening. Let's get your lyric writing going tonight, mate. I saw your message, so yeah, we'll get you sorted. So, first of all, housekeeping, Twitch. Thank you for watching me on Twitch. Please follow me if you're not already following me. If you are already following me, then thank you very much. It does help a lot, and it makes me feel like I'm actually doing this for a purpose. Wobby, good evening. January has just finished another instrumental. Man, you're on fire this weekend. Every time I look on the songs list, there's another one from you on it, which is great. Glad you're having a really productive streak. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the like button. Please subscribe if you've not already subscribed. I lost a subscriber this week. My heart is broken. Other than that, as you can see, the old camera's back. The Zoom's picture quality, that's a Zoom Q2N, which I'm using as a webcam, which is a sledgehammer to crack a nut, but I like the wide angle and the picture quality is excellent, and its auto white balance is now switched back on, which it wasn't on Thursday. Atitlan, good evening. Wow, this is really good. Thank you for dropping in. Yeah, in terms of a default camera view for what I'm doing in here, the Zoom lets you see the stuff, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for, whereas the sort of medium close-up on the other webcam, that has now been relegated to a view of me synthesizers. So there it is. And I got the white balance fixed on that one as well. So nothing is looking orange this week, which is good. I now have cameras plugged into a powered USB port, which is down here, just out of camera shot, built out of aluminium, made by a company called Orico, 10-port USB powered hub. So I'm kind of hoping that's going to make things a little bit more reliable than the various long strings of USB cables that I've been using up until this point. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me on a Sunday. It's 5090. It's the middle of September. If you're doing 5090, where you have to write 50 songs in the 90 days between July the 4th and October the 1st, then we're 80% of the way there. So by close of play tonight, you should have 40 songs under your belt. That's right, 4/5 of your target you should now have written. It's still possible to catch up And to that end, the lovely people at 5090 are running lots of events that will get you writing your songs fast. So, Wobby says 6. But they're brilliant songs, so I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, this is the thing, and for anybody who's worrying and stressing about the fact, well, I haven't actually got anything written or got more than like 3 songs written. The whole point of 5090, the whole point of February Album Writing Month is that it makes you write stuff that you wouldn't normally write. Before I started doing this, I'd write 3 songs a decade. And since I started doing form, I'm now way after or way over 750 songs. So it really does ramp up the amount of songwriting you do. Let's take a moment and go over to 5090, because one of the ways in which you can up your songwriting output is by taking part in a skirmish. What's a skirmish, you say? Well, one's just finished. At 8 p.m, Corinne, who is the host, gave a theme or prompt of autumn. The idea is you take an hour, more time if you need it. If you need to join late, please do. You can start now if you want, but I'd kind of like you to keep me company for the next hour or so. You write and or record and post a song to the 5090 website within an hour. Lyrics only posts and instrumentals are absolutely fine. And if you take longer than an hour, please post them anyway. So let's see who's doing it. So Corinne's already posted hers. Nadia's posted hers. Lovely. TC's got one. Cindy's got one. Carlo 2013 has one. Nerd Jealous has one. And Zekel has one. So look at that. So you've got, more than half a dozen people, nearly 10 people who've come up with a song in the last hour out of nothing other than a single word prompt, which is autumn. If you're looking to up your song count, keep an eye out for skirmishes. And the last weekend of 5090 is always mayhem, as you can see. There are going to be multiple skirmishes taking place, all hosted by different people from the 5090 community. And I see Yano Arias is hosting one at 2 p.m. BST on Saturday the 26th. Good man. Lots of familiar names cropping up there. So if you're going to try and go for it and finish 5090 and get yourself over the finish line by the end of October the 1st, skirmishes are a great way of doing it. The last weekend is always pretty intense, so there will be loads of things happening on the site. So do keep an eye out. But we're not there yet. You've got, another 2-3 weekends before that? So you've got plenty of time to actually think about and craft your songs. So lots of conversation in the chat about how various people are doing. Yano Aris says, yeah, I've got 14 songs to go. One collab not posted yet, but only weekends to do them. Wow. Okay. That's pretty good. That's achievable. Wobby says, yeah, thanks. Been away and stuff. I don't mind about only having 6. Yeah, 6 is better than 0. So if you're going to write songs, are they going to be instrumentals or are you going to write lyrics for them? Because, he said, segueing desperately to tonight's subject of choice, if you're writing songs that have lyrics, some people find it really easy. I don't. And I've taught myself a bunch of stuff about how to write lyrics, and I'm still rubbish at it. Dwashire, good evening. Hi, Belinda. Hope you're feeling well. Yeah, so let's switch over to my screen because, once again, especially for Array of Emotions, the 5090 Show Guide to Lyrics and Metre. This is a particularly complex and highly subjective topic, so feel free to disagree with pretty much anything I'm saying. Got a shout out to Stand Up, who sent me a very nice message about one of my recent talks where I talked about putting a compressor on a send, and he said that's kind of frowned upon, and it can be, but on the other hand, there is a school of thought that actually bungs all the drums and the bass onto an effects send with a compressor and an EQ scoop on it that's known as the New York City compression trick. There are rules, but the rules can be broken because that's the way it goes. So, lyrics and meter. What am I going to be covering tonight? I'm going to be covering, well, what are lyrics? You know, we need to know what we're talking about here. So what are lyrics? What makes a good lyric? What is meter and why should I be bothered about it? How to structure your lyrics with rhythm and emphasis, and that goes back several thousand years. And finally, I'm going to give you a surefire way to improve the lyrical content of your songs. Yes, I've been watching how to do web videos, and apparently offering people a surefire way to improve something or other is really going to improve the lyrical content of your songs. Januarius, I hope I'll learn how to rap from this stream. I guarantee it, sir, because of stuff that I will be revealing shortly. So stay tuned, because this will be very relevant to your interests. So let's get going. Lyrics and meter. What are they? Well, I delved into my copy of the Oxford English Dictionary Short Edition, and it gave me this definition for lyric, or one of the definitions of lyric, because there are other meanings of the word. So it's a noun, singular but usually used in the plural, and it refers to the words of a song or songs. And that use started to occur in the late 19th century. That's kind of what the L19 stands for. Meter, also meter with an RE. So I've gone for the American spelling, and I've done that for a number of reasons. One is that I'm hoping that I will have quite a few people watching in America, either on the stream, because Belinda's here. So hello, Belinda. You are my American representative of the audience for tonight. So I've spelt meter specially that way for you. But in prosody, which means poetry, so it's the effect of writing poems and rhyme, poetic rhythm and scheme as determined by the number and length of feet in a line. A specified form of this, and that's from Old English. So the basic pattern of beats in a piece of music was a more general term that started once again to get used in the late 19th century. I'm guessing those two were grew in popularity as a result of the same thing. That's all very well, Chris, you're saying at this point, but what does feet mean in a line? Is that, 12 inches times 6? No. A foot is another prosody term. It's a metrical unit with a varying number of syllables, one of which bears the main stress, and a similar unit of speech. So you chunk your lyrics into bits, and those bits are called feet, and a foot is built out of syllables. Okay, with me so far? I'm hoping you're with me so far. So we've got lyrics, which consist or are written in a specific metre, and we'll cover what the different metres are. And you build a metre out of feet. So there we go. Lyrics don't have to rhyme. That's one thing that, as a kid, it was like, no, that's not right. I think I was well into my teens before I got over the fact that some songs did not rhyme. And it's very strange still when I see something, but strange can be good. And we'll cover why strange can be good in a minute. So they don't have to rhyme, but your lyrics should tell a story. They should, at the very least, convey a concept, but a story would be good. I mean, all right, repeating cake 17 times in a row is not that great a story, but you could raise issues about diabetes and food additives, I guess. Lyrics should be concise, and this is something I really, really struggle with. Array of Emotions has just completely squirreled me, but he's not squirreled me, he's badgered me, because he's just posted badger, 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 badger. You get the idea. So lyrics should tell a story, they should be concise, and really this is what Array of Emotions has highlighted. They should be memorable, because you are not going to forget Weeble's song, especially not the Brian May, Brian Blessed cover of the Badger song, which is superb. So lyrics need to be memorable. They need to have something. Januaris says, if you say cake in a different way, that can convey a story. That's why it's great that they're mixed with music, because the music and musical way of expressing them can create a very exciting story. Belinda says, I had a friend that did a track that was just tomato soup. Oh, brilliant. Andy Warhol homage. I get that. That's brilliant. I hope it was Campbell's tomato soup. Now, this is the thing where people go astray. I'm sorry, but it has to be said. When you're a beginner songwriter, this is the bit that you do tend to sweep under the carpet and hope nobody notices, and they will notice. Working on lyrics that fit the rhythm of the song. It doesn't have to be the same as the rhythm of the song. You can sing in counterpoint. In other words, you drop your words in between the beats of the song, but the lyrics should fit the rhythm of the song. Do all that, and you should catch the listener's ear. What do you mean by that, Chris? Well, I mean, you want your song to have a hook. Oh, Chris, I've heard the word hook before, but I've no idea what it means in the relevance of a song. Well, I'm glad you asked. What's the hook? It's the part of a song that stands out. It's a combination of rhythm, melody, and lyric that is repeated throughout the song. And Array of Emotions example is absolutely perfect, because badger, 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 badger. All right, it's a one-note melody, but the rhythm and lyric is repeated ad nauseum throughout the song, and arguably it could be mushroom, mushroom that's the hook, or even snake, a snake that's the hook in that song. So Januaris asks, do you have to have a part that doesn't stand out to have a part that does stand out? That's a really good question. I mean, you don't want to make the rest of your song rubbish if you've only got a really kind of average hook. It's not really a contrast type thing. I think the thing is, and people are being less and less subtle about hooks these days, it's the repetition these days is the bit that people focus on. And January says, maybe they can stand out in different ways. Exactly. And so here, I was reading about this afternoon. They said that one of the reasons that the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations stood out as a song had nothing to do with the lyrics at all. It was the electronic wobble underneath. It wasn't a theremin, and I've forgotten the name of the guy who invented it, but it was basically a saxophone-based ribbon controller. And it's that woo noise at the back of the Beach Boys singing Good Vibrations that arguably was the hook. Wobby says, that makes me think of Bohemian Rhapsody. That doesn't have a boring bit, just lots of hooks. January says, more hooks than in Jimbo's fishing store. And you're absolutely right that Bohemian Rhapsody just is hooks. There's very little else. Hooks don't have to be the lyric as well. The hook can be the guitar riff. So Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love is a fantastic hook in that da-da-da-da-da at the beginning of it. It's something that can be easily remembered that goes in and sticks. So it helps if your song structure repeats consistently. In other words, you want the listener not just to predict what's going to happen a little later in the song. You want them to actually actively start anticipating the next time that bit of the song that they've predicted happens. So being predictable, although it's frowned upon in terms of the music industry going, oh, well, that just sounds the same as everybody else. Being predictable means that your audience can relate to the song because they can predict what it's going to do. And once they can predict what it's going to do, they're going to feel part of it, and that's going to appeal to them. So that's my take on why hooks are important. And again, it goes back to the repetition. If you repeat something a couple of times, your listeners are going to think, oh, well, that's probably going to repeat again, so I'm going to look forward to that piece repeating. And again, there have been psychological studies that when you are repeatedly exposed to something, you become more well disposed to it. Wouldn't go so far as to say you like it, but if you've heard something a lot and it comes up again, you go, oh, I remember this one. And January says, Chris, yeah, same thing with storytelling, Joseph Campbell and all that. Yeah, exactly. January says, what are your favourite songs that don't have hooks? I think one of the first ones that I can remember is called Rambling On. And it's just, organ proggy backing and a guy telling a story. And it starts... A little picture house was showing a Batman movie. See this guy fly up in the sky. Thought to myself, why shouldn't I? I bought a pair of wings and climbed up upon a wall. Was about to launch into the air when from the street heard a call, and so on. So it's about a guy basically being talked out of jumping off a wall dressed as Batman. No hook at all. In fact, it's this, as the title says, rambling on story, but it went in and stick to the point where I memorized the song, and I'd have been 9, 10. So Raja says, I'm going to be listening to my music much different now. Good. I really hope you'll start... Sad to say, I'm going to get you guys all counting, and you'll see why in a minute. So let's go back to my screen. You want something that's remembered, that goes in and sticks. So it helps if it's predictable. Repetition is great. Something different or unusual helps. So if you've got a theremin or something that makes a really strange noise, or a brand new synthesizer that nobody's heard those patches of, or a new guitar effects pedal, or a Vocaloid VST plugin or something that gets people going, oh, what's that? then that's going to stand out. People are going to remember it. If you're really lucky, they'll tell other people about it. Have you heard that really strange song where ... So today I learned that the person who commissioned the legendary BBC television music programme, The Old Grey Whistle Test, was none other than Sir David Attenborough, the wildlife naturalist and eco-warrior, and a hero of mine for 55 odd years. So, David Attenborough was the person who brought the BBC's Old Grey Whistle Test onto our screens. Why is it called the Old Grey Whistle Test? It's a Tin Pan Alley legend. Back in the days when people wrote sheet music and music publishers played it on the piano to listen to it and judge whether the song was going to sell, they would pay attention to the doormen on the office buildings, because if the old grey doormen, and they'd be wearing grey flannel suits or long frock coats, if the old greys were whistling the song at the end of the day, then that song had passed the Old Grey Whistle Test. Now, you can take that with a pinch of salt, but I've heard that told repeatedly, so I'm going to choose to believe that that's true. The Old Grey Whistle Test introduced me to prog and is sadly missed. That's lyrics. What about meter or meter? It's the rhythmic pattern of a part of a song. Verses, pre-chorus and chorus can be in different meters. So you can change your meter as your song goes. And one verse might be in a particular meter, and the next verse or a couple of lines in that verse might decide not to be. But the basic count is the number of syllables in each line. So we're back to our feet. It's how you fit your feet in your line is your meter. And within each foot and within each line where the stress is. Why is this important? Think of a song that has a rhythm that you remember, like Tee-tumpity tumpity tumpy, tee-tumpity tumpity tum, tee-tumpity tumpity tumpty, tee-tumpity tumpity tum. It oscillates between one and the other. And I'm sure you're already singing The Wonderful Thing About Tiggers is Tiggers Are Wonderful Things. It's having a repetition or a stress. The wonderful thing about Tiggers. So the third syllable in the Tigger song is where the stress lies. So the Greeks ignored the whole stress and unstressed thing. For the Greeks, it wasn't about stress or emphasis. It was about whether the syllable was short or long. And basically the metron was 2 feet stuck together, and the anceps, the first part of the metron, could be either short or long, but then it was long, short, long, long, short, long. So a metron was either short, long, or long, long, short, long. And that was always it. It was about the Greeks really, and the whole thing about feet stems back from the Greeks, because they used terms where the first part of a foot was lifting the foot. And the Greeks said, well, if you lift the foot, you've got to place it back down. So it was all about opposites. So it was lift and then place, lift and then place. But things have moved on since then. So we're much more now about stressing and unstressing. These are the types of feet that you've got. An iambic foot is unstressed followed by stressed. So dee-dum. This is where we start talking about iambic pentameter. Penta means 5. So iambic pentameter is a line of a song that consists of 5 iambs. So it's da 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 da, or te-tum 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 is iambic pentameter. At which point it's squirrel time, because one thing that I did this year during 5090 was I thought, I'm going to write an iambic pentameter song and see if anybody notices. And they didn't. Wobby says, I've done a couple of iambic pentameter songs. They're great fun. It is a fun limitation to write in. There is a brilliant TED talk by a chap called Akala that he gave at TEDx. And he started the talk by giving us 10 lines, all in iambic pentameter, and said, okay, is that Shakespeare or rap? And it was incredibly difficult to figure out whether it was Shakespeare or rap. Bobby says, yes, I've watched that. It's great. Did you spot me in the audience? I'm in the video, he said modestly. It's a really good TED talk. It's worth watching. So I wrote this, The Death of Kings, and I thought the title was suitably Shakespearean as a bit of a hint. So there you go. An omen in the sky revealing things, a judgment from on high, the death of kings, a thing that signifies what fate shall bring. It's time we threw our hat into the ring. I dropped one line because you don't have to follow the rules. But yeah, I wrote that in iambic pentameter. So that was, and it was me geeking out about Comet Neowise, really. So there are a whole bunch of different types of feet. Most of them have 2 syllables, but the wonderful thing about Tigger's is Tigger's Are Wonderful Things uses anapestic pentameters, or, well, not pentameters, but it uses triplets, and Led Zeppelin are ferociously keen on anapestic meter. A lot of Stairway to Heaven is in anapestic meter. Atitlan says, singing lyrics is always different to poetry as you have the option to hold a vowel across beats. Yeah. Case in point is a gentleman who is sadly no longer with us, who I worshipped for many years, even before he managed to sing the as a 3-syllable word. And see if anybody in the chat actually can think of the song that I'm thinking of where that happens. Okay, so you don't need to know that, you don't have to memorize all these different types of feet, but it's important to realize that the patterns, stressed to unstressed, unstressed to stressed, stressed and stressed, unstressed to unstressed, you can mix them up, but it's having that swing to it that will really help your lyrics flow. The Shakespeare stuff, iambic pentameter, Yano Aries was asking, is this going to help me with my rap? An awful lot of rap, as Akala pointed out, is in iambic pentameter. And I've forgotten the name of it. There is an Eminem song where the first line is entirely in the iambic pentameter. It's brilliant. You know, you've got these guys who you wouldn't have thought would have found that link to a form of prose that's centuries old, but it still holds true. And the unstressed, stressed, the ba-dump, ba-dump, ba-dump is thought to be popular because it mimics the human heartbeat, which means it's very easy to follow the beat because it's innate inside your body. So using iambs is a good way of getting people on side with your lyrics. Doesn't have to be a pentameter, so we'll cover some others right now. So an alexandrine, these are some metrical terms. So these are ways of organizing your meters. So an alexandrine is a line of 12 syllables with a pause after the 6th syllable. A caesura is a natural pause in the middle of a line, so you'd get a caesura after the sixth syllable of each line of an Alexandrine. Enjambment is something we've had challenges for enjambment on February Album Writing Month and on 5090. It's where you continue one line over into the next. So you don't have to finish a coherent thought at the end of each line in a song. Enjambment lets you continue over from one line into the next. Atitlan says, I do that all the time. Yeah, it's a great trick, and it really wakes the listener up. And I've been doing it this week on a couple of things as well. So we've already covered iambic pentameter, a line of 10 syllables, 5 iambic feet, Shakespeare. Trying to look up songs that have iambic pentameter, I kind of drew a blank other than rap. Somebody had pointed me at a Taylor Swift video and said, oh, that's in iambic pentameter, and it wasn't. Januaris says, I always remember this one thing from Dr. Katz, the end bit where he plays guitar, and the idea was you think he's going to say something dirty, and then he continues with the next verse. So that's like enjambment. Yes, very much so. There are a number of bawdy, or you think it's bawdy, but it's just your dirty mind songs. I mean, even the Shaving Cream, or whatever the song is it's about enjambment, because the chorus is basically an enjambment of the previous line from the verse. So, ballad meter, 2 lines of iambic tetrameter. So, ba-dump, 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 and then a line of iambic trimeter, ba-dump, ba-dump, ba-dump. Common meter, alternating between iambic tetrameter and iambic trimeter. These tend to be a lot more heard in pop than iambic pentameter, strangely enough. So it's all about counting. So you got 10 syllables, then you got 8 syllables, then 6. So it's 8, 8, 6. And then iambic tetrameter, you've got 8, 6, 8, 6, 8, 6, 8, 6. But it's about counting your syllables. And it's that counting and the repetition of the count and the predictability of the count that is really gonna make your lyrics flow. Don't try and stuff too many syllables in one line. It ain't gonna work. I'm not going to mention names, but I've heard people on February Album Writing Month and 5090 who've written something and are obviously singing it for the first time. No, Wobby, it's not you. Who sing something for the first time and you can quite audibly hear them start to panic when they realise that the number of syllables that they've written in their lyrics ain't going to fit their music. Make sure they fit, because it's painful as an onlooker or as an audient to hear something like that, and you know it could have been fixed. Array of Emotions says, ouch. Ryoko Music says, oh lordy. Yeah, I mean, it's a rookie mistake, so let's get you rookies out there not making it anymore, okay? Count stuff and tap it out. So one of the things that I do when I write lyrics, I'm going to go really complicated this. I look at this 2-camera shot and a PowerPoint. So if I've written something, I put my hand down on the notepad and I count off on my fingers. So we're talking about iambic pentameter or 10 syllables. Welcome to the Hotel California is 10 syllables. You know, it's been a long time since I rock and roll is 10 syllables. They're not really iambic pentameter because the stress changes, but you want subsequent lines in your song to match, because if they don't, your music's gonna crash into them and it's really, really gonna be painful trying to extricate the words from what you've done. So before you record your lyrics, next to your lyric sheet, or for each line of your lyric sheet, count the number of syllables in the line and put the number at the side of the lyric sheet and see if they stay the same or alternate. If it's 868686, you're golden, because you've got a predictable rhythm that's going to fit the music. If, on the other hand, you've got a verse that's 17, 8, 3, 15, then you might want to think about rewriting stuff or switching it round, because it ain't going to work unless you're an absolute musical genius. And I'm not, so I tend to keep things really simple. Count your syllables. Some syllabic verse examples. There are, yes, there are, and this is why I love this. There are specific syllabic count forms. The most famous one that everybody knows is haiku, 575. So the first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables, and the third line is back to 5 syllables again. Lyric has 8 syllables, then 8 syllables, then 5, then 5, then 8. This is one I really love, and you don't see a nonette that often. But it's a 9-line poem with 9 syllables in the first line, 8 in the second, 7 in the third, 6 in the fourth, 5 in the fifth, 4 in the sixth, 3 in the seventh, 2 in the eighth, and 1 in the ninth. I love that. I may actually try a nonette before 5090 is finished. And of course, from nonette, you've got sonnet. And a sonnet was Shakespeare's absolute piece de resistance. 14 lines of iambic pentameter. He loved iambic pentameter, and he was damn good at it. Now, sonnets have more structure than just 14 lines of 10 syllables, and we'll get to that in a minute. Wobby says, oh, we should post the nonette in the forum as a challenge. That's a brilliant idea. Let's do that. It's not just about counting syllables, because if you're a traditionalist or you want people to really dig your lyrics, you want them to rhyme, and the way they rhyme can change. So a ballad has a structure. So each letter in these schemes refers to a particular ending of a word. So A might be groove in the first line, so it'd be move the next time, or approve, or move. Noaja says it's amazing how much Shakespeare influenced so much. The number of words he introduced, the forms that he popularized, everything else, just an amazing creative powerhouse. Right, who's heard of a clerihew? Invented by a vicar back in the 19th century who made a name for himself just writing 4-line poems about people he knew, and the first line would always refer to, or even contain, or in extreme cases just be the subject's name. Love it. Clerihew. Limerick, again, the rhyming scheme of a limerick. Remember, it was 8 syllables, 8 syllables, 5 syllables, 5 syllables, and then 8 syllables. You're also constrained by having a rhyming scheme, which is A, B, B, and then back to A again. People think, oh, this is really, really difficult having all these constraints. And to which I'd say, yeah, but how many limericks do you know? So the sonnet, here we go. The sonnet has a really complex rhyming structure. A, B, C, D, E, F, and then G, G at the end. Wow, you're thinking that's really hard. Januarius, who is our Finnish viewer, says, I've heard of limerick, but I didn't know what it was. Or was it Lime Rick, the guy near the beach? Yeah, limericks are a huge comic part of English language. I'm trying to think. There is the one I can remember, or I think I can remember, and I apologise if I'm going to have to look it up. It goes,
There was a young lady called Bright, who could travel much faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and came back the previous night.
Ryako Music. I'm also going to be honest. I don't think I've ever analysed my songwriting. Yeah, but a lot of what we all do, we do intuitively. It's just the intuitive stuff, like the ballad pentameter and everything else, can be quite common because it is intuitively fairly easy to pick up. And once you've got the hang of it, you can rattle them off. I mean, sonnets, you can start to see people thinking, oh, I need more of a challenge here. And Wobby says, yep, and you can still hone the intuitive. Yeah, absolutely you can. Then you can push the envelope. And I don't know if, well, put it like this. If any of you have suffered through Christopher Nolan's movie Interstellar, you will be tediously familiar with a villanelle, because the Dylan Thomas poem that Michael Caine tediously repeats God knows how many times throughout the movie, and then just to rub it in, they even show it on the character's gravestone at the end of the movie. Spoilers. Rage, Rage Against the Dying of the Light by Dylan Thomas is a villanelle, and I hadn't realised that it was a villanelle. I just thought, oh, that's a really weird structure, but it kind of works. So I think, was it last year, I actually set myself a challenge of writing a villanelle. Setting yourself a challenge to write in one of these lyrical structures, rhyming structures, is a really good way of unblocking your creativity, and or just challenging it, pushing it, giving its less used muscles a damn good workout. Atislan says, I think there's a big difference between lyrics and music first songs. People who go lyrics first tend to have much more structure. That's a really, really interesting point, because I usually write the music and then write the lyrics. And when I've done it the other way around and written the lyrics first, I've always found that I've got a structurally more robust song as a result, which is really interesting. So I think that's something I'd probably say Chris recommends, if you're writing a song that's going to have lyrics, get the lyrics down before you start writing the song, because the lyrics will suggest what structure the song will take. I mean, I've done it the other way around. I usually do it the other way around, but doing it the other way around will take you somewhere different to lyrics first, then music. So that's my perspective anyway. Wobby says, I'm very fond of the phrasing meter of colloquial turns of phrase, and you have a genius ear for turning colloquial turns of phrase into glorious songs. And because they're colloquial terms of phrase, they're familiar and they're predictable, and it means the audience sings along to them. And I've seen you just get an audience roaring along to a song because it's relatable and it's predictable and it's memorable, and they feel like they already know it, which, as Atiklan says, means you've got an instant hook there, because it's something, is the response people will have because they know it. Okay, let's move on. because we're at the end. This is the one thing that will, as promised, really improve your lyrics in your recorded songs. Before you hit the record button or click on or tap your phone or whatever else, however you write your songs or record your songs, do this. Rehearse. Sing through your lyrics to the music that you're doing. It's as simple as that. And yet people don't do it. They hit record, and at some point during the song, where it says, I didn't know it was going to be this type of stream. The nerve! I did warn people at the beginning, but I don't think you joined us then. For reals. For reals. You can tell on 5090 and Form the people who have just decided that the lyrics are done, so let's play the guitar and then just sing them. And there is usually a point in those recordings where it all goes dreadfully wrong. So please rehearse first. Atitlan66 says, even better idea, record a guide vocal. Oh God, yes. When I'm actually doing stuff on the Korg M3, like I was on Thursday stream, and we'll return to Thursday stream in a minute, what I will normally do is I've got the Rode mic, and I'll just have that in front of me, and I'll have the Korg M3 playing into one channel on the mixer, and separately, so it's on a separate audio track, I'll record my commentary. So it'll be not just the guide vocals in my case. I'll actually count in when the verses are, and I'll count in when the choruses are, so that when I'm then recording the proper vocals on headphones using the DAW, I'll get cued in to when the verse is about to start. And you're probably at this point thinking, seriously, you need to do that? Well, don't forget that I kind of write songs in stuff like 7/8, or I even did one in 17/18, I think, last year. And sometimes you do need a bit of a prompt to make you come in absolutely when you need to. So a guide vocal track in your headphones that you can listen to while you're recording, it's golden. So yeah, good call there, Atitlan. And Atitlan says, yeah, they don't have to be great, just really rough, no pitch, but word placement. And it's that word placement. It's finding where the rhythm hits the verse. It's finding where the rhythm fits the line. It's finding how it's the innate pulse of what you're speaking or singing that you need to be absolutely solid. Because if it's not, people are just going to go, oh dear. And people going, oh dear, is not a reaction you want to your songs. Believe me, I've had that far too much in my early days, and I'd rather spare you the pain. Rehearse. So, as always with these things, I invite you at this point to pause and reflect. So, what have you discovered tonight? Belinda was saying that she's going to listen to music differently as a result of this. And you may find yourself counting. You may find yourself tapping out the number of syllables in each line with your fingers. But do it. And certainly do it to your own lyrics when you're writing them. Put a syllable count at the end of each line of your lyrics to track whether a verse or a chorus or a pre-chorus is gonna have a problem. Because if the numbers start varying, you're gonna have a problem. Eris says, you got me thinking about interesting things. I love a challenge. Mate, that is exactly what I want to hear. That's why I'm doing this stuff. And being a Finn says, just got to learn more English to help me out. Any help you want, I don't work. I'm at home, so give me a shout. Ping me on social media, and if there's anything you want to ask, then I am more than happy to help you out. So, to sum up, where are we? It's as much about counting as it is about rhyming. It's about fitting the pulse of the music to the pulse of the words. It's about not crashing in to the music. It's about not having loads of syllables and you realise you've only got 3 beats of the verse left and you're not going to be able to fit them all in unless you really slightly crash them all together. Ain't going to work. Please count. And don't force a rhyme. It's okay to break the rules, but do it in an interesting way, because it's that interesting way of defying expectations that can be just as engaging as bringing the rules to a satisfying conclusion and following them predictably. And again, it's squirrel time. They Might Be Giants, who are a band I have been a fanatical fan for, oh goodness me, more than 30 years, because Flood came out in 1990, were actually challenged on one of their songs a while ago by the NPR people. I think it was the Fresh Air people. And they were actually told or set the challenge to use specific words. And the main word that they had to use, and they actually used it as the title of the song, was contre coup, which is the bruising that you get on the opposite side of your head when somebody hits you on the head with a blunt instrument, because your brain has slopped to the other side of your skull and hit the other side of the skull and bruised it. And that's a contre coup. And they used contre coup in a song because... No, should I say Bluebird is my theme song? Yeah, Birdhouse in Your Soul was the song. As soon as I heard that, I just fell in love with them, because that is one of the... So what's the syllable count in that? I'm your only friend, I'm not your only friend is 11. But I'm your little glowing friend, but really I'm not actually your friend, but I am. Yeah, it's not subtle. Yanni Harris says, They Might Be Giants are so clever that I always feel like I strained something when listening to my stuff. I took my sister to see them at the waterfront in Norwich many years ago. And we were at the front and we'd both had rather a lot of Guinness, singing wildly along with every song, because we knew the lyrics of every bloody song. I think we frightened John Flansborough. But walking home afterwards, my sister just turned to me and she said, I've never felt intellectually threatened by a band before, which is a nice way of saying, because I mean they are two of the the whole band are some of the nicest people on this planet. But if you want to hear real primo grade flash lyric writing, check out They Might Be Giants. Anyway, enough of this. Squirrel. So don't force a rhyme. It's okay to break the rules, and They Might Be Giants do that liberally with their stuff, and it always sounds better. But finally, one last tip, and I found this ages ago, and I've been storing it in my humour folder in my pictures file, and it's the perfect point to use it. So, a tweet from a while back: you pick a phrase, you pick a rhyme, repeat the sound another time. 5 I ams, then an extra beat will do ya. Another rhyme, a rising note. Congratulations, you just wrote another goddamn verse to Hallelujah. Shout out to Amata Lefay for that glorious commentary on meter in songwriting. I absolutely love that. Finally got to use it and share it. Hope you like it. And that's it. So, wow, just over an hour and we're done. So thank you for feeding back on this. January says, I haven't tested Giants with Guinness. Making a mental note. Highly recommended. Guinness and most genres of music work quite well together, I've found in my experience. So I hope that was, well, if not useful or even informative, but mildly fun and a little bit diverting. Belinda says, you are awesome. That's very kind. I'm not really, but I do like doing these. And I've got to keep my trainer chops in. I used to train people for a living, so I kind of get PowerPoint. Well, it's not PowerPoint, it's LibreOffice, but I tend to get slide deck withdrawal symptoms if I don't have a slide deck every now and again. So January says, thank you a lot for the stream. Brilliant stuff. I hope it helps. And like I say, mate, I'm not just saying it. If you've got questions or you want to discuss stuff, then just give me a nudge. And I'll no doubt see you in Twitch at some point in the near future. Naja says, I might do a haiku. Please do. Yeah, really do. And kind of the whole point of doing these is to inspire. And, even if you're not doing 50-90, then do a haiku, do a nonet, do a villanelle. I would love to hear or read all the stuff that you do by going, I'm going to set myself a challenge. And there are dozens of other rhyming or metrical structures that Process D uses. Joanna Arias says a finiku. Now that's a thing. I think you'd probably need more than 5 syllables, though. Having seen Finnish documents in my time and travelled through Finnish airports in my time, Finnish does tend to go fairly large on multiple syllables in words. So maybe times 2 it and see what you come up with. That would be brilliant. So, and Wobby says, nice one, Chris. Thank you. Ryaka Music says, that was really informative. I knew like none of that. Well, in that case, I feel like we've spent our time productively. So that's great. Atitlan says, some of those structures are worth trying out. Nonet sounds like a challenge. Yeah, I think what I'll do, unless one of you guys beats me to it, is I will go on the forums when I finished the stream and I'll issue the challenge and we'll see what happens. I need to get my commenting up to scratch because I said that by close of play today I'd have 300 comments made. I think I'm around about the 285 at the moment, so I need to write some more comments and give feedback on stuff for 5090, because that again, and I said, I've said it before and I'm going to repeat myself, because if you're taking part in 5090, it's an essential part of taking part is you give feedback on other people's stuff, so you help them be better songwriters. And Januaris has just posted a word, Salamanjo datin ravinto lamainos aukiama, I think. Oh, he's right. He's split it up into syllables, which. So, January says yes, very good. Okay, yeah, that's great. What have I just said? And I hope it wasn't anything rude. 16. That's one word. That's not your haiku. That's just one word. Good Lord. That's even better than German. And although they actually changed, when I was a kid, the longest word in German in the Guinness Book of Records was something like the offices of the sub-lieutenant of the Donau steamship luggage company, which was just a compound word that just strung all of that together. And thankfully, the German authorities changed the rules for making compound nouns to make that less likely to happen, which is good. Oh my God. So Yuha has now pointed me at 106 letter Finnish word. Raja says, like looking at Welsh town, yeah, and the Llanfire, yeah, I'm not even going to go there. But I have been to Llanfire PG, which is a very, very small hamlet in Anglesey, but it finishes with Llantysilio or Gogogoch. Yeah, let's not go in there. Google. Here we go. Google Translate. Thank you, David. Array of Emotion says Google Translate says it means lightning conductor restaurant ad opening, which doesn't seem right. Yes, I think Google Translate might have a bit of a problem there. But oh no, Yanuaris says yes, that's right. Okay. So we have profoundly squirreled ourselves, which is about par for the course for this week. But I'm going to draw things to a close because it's getting on a bit, certainly in Europe where you guys are watching. So I will bid you all a very good night, and I will leave you with a re-edited and spiffy brand new end credits sequence, which has new music. Not only new music, but new information as well. Ryako Music says, good night, nerds. And that is a sentiment that I echo heartily. So wherever you are, stay safe, stay sane, stay well, wear a mask, and have a good night.